So now let's take a look at the Nordgaard faction. This is the Viking-inspired faction of Godslayer, and consists primarily of dwarves, but also has human and ogre allies. The three subfactions are clans, guilds, and Scanfeared. Now, our dwarves are based solidly on two concepts. Firstly, their Viking culture, and secondly, the fact that they are the elemental race of Earth. So we don't have high-tech engineering dwarves in Godslayer. Our dwarves are more in line with the mythology from which the concept originally comes. Clans is the first subfaction, and they represent the typical military of Nordgaard, especially so the dwarven militia called the Fjell Warriors. Now these guys are cheap, well-disciplined troops who can use shield wall tactic, and they do well in melee. They're primarily a defensive unit, and supporting them is the Brewer of Odrerir, who has magical brews he can hand out to buff models and units. Leading the clan subfaction is the Warsmith, who is actually a master blacksmith, specialized in weapons and tools of war, so he's also a part-time warrior himself. Due to their movement, which is slower than other factions since they're dwarves, they tend to operate defensively, and this strategy is also helped by their good armor and the many defensive buffs they can benefit from tactics and items, etc. Nevertheless, there are some tricks to using the clan subfaction in a more offensive way, and these will be covered in articles on the Megalith Games website. For fans of dwarves, this subfaction is an obvious choice. Clans also has access to the Fjellgangers, and these are small giants descended from the ancient Jotuns. And these guys are really good against large units or hordes because they have attacks which hit multiple models at the same time. So, this subfaction's Norse dwarves with Norse giants, and that's something new and different and has a lot of Viking flavor. This subfaction tends to have larger warbands because the troops are cheap, and it's definitely a melee style of play. Conversely, the guild subfaction, which also consists of dwarves, has more expensive troops, and these are rather more unusual models who come from various different brotherhoods, societies, and sections of Nordgaard society. And they include the devout Einherjar, who are super melee killers dedicated to the new gods. Encased in heavy armor and armed with poleaxes, they are extremely hard to kill, and they deliver a whopping punch. Naturally, they cost a lot of points, and the master of the Einherjar is the warlord for the guild subfaction in the current wave. And he's even tougher and harder than his troops, as you can imagine. In terms of playing style, they are rather similar to the clans, but whereas the clans are kind of more of a horde-type warband, guilds is all about small numbers of elite models and units. Also part of the guilds are the crossbow-armed dwarven mountain scouts called the Fimble Toughborns. With a unit of these elite missile troops, you can field a shooty warband, or you can combine them with the Einherjar warriors and make it shooty and very hard. But again, they cost a lot of points, so such an elite warband with such an elite warband, it's important to get maximum performance out of each model. That's not a problem since each of these models has great stats and tactics available. So for players who like small warbands of really elite guys, guild subfaction is for you. Now we come to the Scanfeared. These fellows are the humans and ogres who make up part of Nordgaard society. As you can see, they're clearly derived from Vikings. The basic human troops are essentially an experienced and confident militia composed of men who have seen a fair share of battle. Contrasting with the dwarves, this subfaction is definitely more offensive, partly because of their faster movement and partly because of their tactics and lighter armor. The faction so far is made up of medium infantry who are decent fighters and equipped with also decent armor. As I said, they are offensive, and their shield bash tactic helps bring that across. Living together with their human cousins are the ogres of the Nordgaard, who are known as the Nordgaard. An example of which is the character called the Chainslayer. This is a Viking ogre berserker whirling around chains with blades on the end. What could be better than that? Giving the Scanfeared additional speed are the armored giant wolves called Bloodvargs. These models enable the Scanfeared to get into battle fast, pin enemy units, and attack distant missile troops or control the flanks. Now, leading this horde of Northmen is the warlord called the Scar Jarl. This guy's basically a berserker, and his rules mirror his extreme toughness and disregard for pain. He's an in-your-face, all-out offensive melee monster, but a little squishy compared with some other warlords. But in any case, hell of a lot of fun to play. Naturally, you can combine models and units from each of the subfactions in Nordgaard to make an overall Nordgaard warband, and this allows the faction plenty of diversity and strategies. One common one being the hammer and anvil, where you invite the enemy to smash themselves upon your rock-hard units, then hit back with your offensive units. But there are, of course, many other options, much more so than with some other systems that also have dwarves. All in all, Nordgaard is an all-rounder kind of faction, which can be tailored to be a tank, shooty, offensive elites, or large-scale melee units. The only option not possible at all in Wave 1 is the magic-y style of play. So if you love playing dwarves and sick of the one who being the one who always gets charged, Nordgaard is for you. Personally, I love the offensive style of the Scanfeared.